And welcome back to the European LCS Regional Playoffs live from Gamescom 2013. I am Lee Demon-Smith, and alongside me once again is Joshua Jack Leesman, and we have the pleasure of bringing you the second quarterfinal of the series of the day. It is going to be Gambit Gaming up against Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Yeah, and the winners move on to Saturday's semi-final round, where they'll face the top-seeded Lemon Dogs, while the losing squad is going to take on Team Alternate in that relegation match.
And coming into this match, of course, Gambit holds a 3-2 series lead after taking down Ninjas in Pyjamas in the Super Week's second place mini tournament.
Yeah, and Gambit really dominated that game. Every player on their team had a KDA of 9 or higher, and then Ninjas in Pyjamas actually surrendered in under 26 minutes. And although Gambit lost to EG twice in the tiebreakers and ended up in 4th place, they looked great during the scheduled portion of Super Week, where they went 4-1 in the first 5 games before they made it to those tiebreaker matches.
Yeah, I don't know how much fans want to read into that, the mini tournament second place game, because Gambit, NIP themselves were just like, I just want to get to Gamescom.
Exactly.
I think there's only Maluna in that team that's actually ever been here, and I was actually out at the back of the stage with them, all the guys, and they were just like, this is crazy. This is crazy, and it's scary that this may affect them.
Absolutely, and I mean, the thing is with that though, Gambit also has a lot of momentum carried through from the regular part of the Super Week. Before the playoffs relegation stuff even happened, I almost feel like they're putting that beyond their minds.
Yeah, of course, Gambit, they've had their share of ups and downs this summer. If there is a team that can empathize, it is Ninjas in Pyjamas, because, well, we all know what their plight has been. There's only been a few weeks this split where there hasn't been some sort of shake-up within Ninjas in Pyjamas, but despite all the turbulence, they were able to overcome a 2-6 start to the summer and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of the big reasons they've been here is because of Bjergsen. He's always been their carry, and after NIP lost their first 2 games during Super Week, he pretty much just carried them to 3 state wins after that, because that's what Bjergsen tends to do sometimes.
Yeah, and I was worried, you know, obviously when Extinct left the team, because it really took the pressure off him for a while, and then suddenly Extinct out of the blue decided, no, that's not for me, don't like the traveling, don't want to do this, which is interesting because we just saw the Gambit video, of course, talking about how much they travel. It's just not for some people, but it's put the pressure back on Bjergsen. The pressure is almost certainly going to be on Minimist again.
And we kind of talked about in the alternate game how they had the struggles because, you know, Pharrell Lord took a week off and Kriaton had his hand broken. How about having one of your dominant top laners just up and leave the team in the middle of the season? It's tough.
And of course, coming into this match, Bjergsen and the Ninjas in Pyjamas, they do believe that if they can carry the early game against Alex Sich and crew, they can shut down Gambit and win their way into Saturday's quarterfinals.
The key to win against Gambit is early dominance.
Pretty much every game where Gambit doesn't get the early lead, they tend to not win.
I don't think that the early game is the only key to our success.
They don't take being behind very well, so we need to pick strong early game, strong laning champions and punish them early and then snowball the game.
Early game is important only in that case that we should not land 0-10 in early game, and then everything will be fine.
We can't let them snowball anything. If they will snowball, they will most likely win the game.
Before the Super Week, we played a lot against the Ninjas, so we have some research material to check out their strategies and come up with some good counters to them.
I feel like now that Gambit are returning to their old kind of champions, I feel like they're way stronger than the stuff they've been trying out previously.
I wouldn't say I'm happy to get Gambit, but I'm confident if we play our best, we can beat them.
So let's take a look at the starting lineups, of course. This time on the blue side, it is going to be Gambit Gaming. There's in the top lane, starting off, will be Darian. He is, of course, that top lane, and we've seen Aatrox played a number of times in the last few matches. He was famous for starting out on that one. In the jungle, of course, it is Diamond Prox, the mid laner, Alex Ich. AD carry is Genja, and of course, the new support, Voidal.
And on the red side, of course, it is Ninjas in Pyjamas. Mimer, that top lane, who they had to bring in afterwards. Jungle is Maluno. Bjergsen, mid laner since the start of the year. Freeze, that AD carry, and Deficio also been there all year.
Yeah, and what else could be our featured matchup, of course. We have to have a featured matchup for this one because the quarterfinal showdown is really the battle of the mid laners. We've heard them talking there. It is Gambit's Alex Ich versus Ninjas in Pyjamas, Bjergsen.
Yeah, and even though Alex Ich hasn't had great numbers this summer, it's not because he's played incredibly poorly. They're banning out a lot of his champions, and they're camping him in lane this split, and it's not going to get any easier for him today because Bjergsen's consistently done well against him. Bjergsen was 24-5 and 33 in their head-to-head matchups this year, which is an impressive scoreline. So Alex can have a poor game, and Gambit can rely on one of their other weapons to carry them to win. But for Bjergsen, especially without having their top laner in Extinct anymore, it's not quite the same luxury.
And their champion pool is actually pretty similar. I mean, they both love the Zed if they can get a hold of them. Both of them are pretty damn good on Orianna. Twisted Fate, they'll run that as well. So they've got very shared champions that they both had some pretty damn big games on between them. We can see the team setting themselves up. And we talked about the big game experience. Gambit have been here. They've been on the biggest stage in the world. Ninjas and Pyjamas, this is their first time. The biggest stage they've ever had so far is going to be obviously what we had in DreamHack, what we had in Moscow and Tenerife. They were only around about 1,000 to 1,500 people. There's a lot more than that here right now.
Yeah, and most of those were just for the regular season of the LCS as well, so the impact of the games or the repercussions of winning or losing the game were much different. And it's kind of strange too that they're playing against Gambit, who I think at the start of the year, everyone just kind of respected and would almost roll over for them if they just started coming. But throughout the rest of this split, maybe right up until about Super Week, it did seem like teams almost stopped respecting Gambit in a sense and stopped giving them that, oh wow, they're Gambit, we have to watch out for them with the swap supports. But maybe they're going to be back to that now since it's on a big stage, since they've had the boot camp. That's definitely what Gambit's hoping for.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, obviously we saw the travel that the Gambit have had, and it's something that, I mean, I'm fairly close with Groove, the manager of Gambit. I have had good discussions with him, and I get to talk about the team, and obviously, especially when they've been having problems with the support players, like, how's it going? And it was like the boot camp before Super Week, they actually said they lost about 70% of their matches. But it didn't seem to matter because they were just working out the kinks, like you say. They came into Super Week and they just went on a mission. The only team to stop them, ironically, was Fnatic, who, in themselves, we just, looked at the records like, well, Gambit have won this, tie, there's never going to be a four-way tie for second place. How wrong were we on that day?
Yeah, and also looking at Voidal, it's the strangest thing when we're looking at Gambit, obviously losing Edward. I haven't gotten much to see of them in person, obviously, since the switch happened, because I haven't been in Europe all year up until now. How does he really fit on that team right now? Because he has been improving. But replacing someone as big as Edward and on as almost legendary a team as Gambit, they're huge shoes to fill.
Well, in Groove's own words, he said it's the first time in about 3 or 4 months that they've actually shown improvements in the bottom lane. They've actually been a little bit more creative. Suddenly, the aggression's working. And if you look at the last probably 2-3 weeks that Genja's had, his aggression has definitely stepped up. He suddenly was the man up front. During Super Week, there was a couple of times we were just absolutely blown away. It's like, that's Genja initiating it. He's the one attacking in the mid lane while the rest of the team are trying to catch up.
And it's good that they're finally making those growths happen. You can't just sit on your, like essentially Gambit had spent so much time just surviving based off of their talent or based off of the work they'd done previously. Because all of their initial success, if we think all the way back to Season 2, was because they were the team that would do the boot camps. They were the teams that would prep extremely hard before the big tournaments, and then it would come out to help them. But during the LCS regular season, they weren't able to do any of that, and it really started hurting them. So I wonder if they've had enough time to actually work on their game and improve with just that boot camp, because they clearly weren't doing it during the regular season, which is why we saw the decline.
Well, yeah, and I mean, simply put, they don't have the chance, because there's a German law, obviously, between Russia and Germany, that they can't spend more than 90 days within Germany for a period of time. Obviously, there's a lot of countries that have these sort of things, which is why they don't have that gaming house in Cologne, like a lot of the other teams do. So subsequently, they only get about 3 days a week to practice. And I guess if you've been traveling for 4 days of the week, or effectively playing in the LCS for 2 to 3 days, traveling for another 2 of those days, the motivation to get home and practice is probably not that high.
I mean, even just traveling a little bit for events from our personal experience, like that can wipe you out quickly. You can do 1, 2, and then like, man, I really need a break. How about 6 months of it, almost every week for the guys on Gambit? It takes a ridiculous toll, and it's actually a testament to their initial skill that they were even able to make it this far going through that kind of schedule.
Well, I want to talk about that man on your screen, Darian, because during Super Week, he did what effectively seemed inconceivable at the start of the season. He went invincible. For 2 games straight, he did not die. Darien suddenly turned it around. You know, this was the man that was dying left, right, and center, and to be fair, against Evil Geniuses, he did kind of get hooked all the time by Froggen. As Froggen said, it wasn't so much me hooking onto him, it was just Darien was running into my hooks. But that game aside, he actually had a really good Super Week. Darien seemed to be back to his best. He actually even pulled out Vladimir again, which is a champion that he used to use way back in Moscow 5 days.
And a lot of what Gambit did last Super Week was a callback to when they were successful in a sense. In any game against Gambit, Shen was either first picked against them or banned away from Darien, and then he was still able to have effectiveness on other things like Vladimir. Likewise, someone like Genja, when he first came on the scene, he was dominating with Misfortune, yet he played 16 Varus games throughout the split, but it was Misfortune that he picked up the first 3 wins with and then had banned out in the other 2 games. So Gambit was really returning kind of to their sweet spot there.
Yeah, and in that respect, you could talk also about Diamond. Like, he went back to his Lee Sin, managed to carry from the jungle. We'll see how it goes up because we are into the picks and bans, and Fizz being taken away. No surprise there. If you call Super Week, Bjergsen went fantastically well on Fizz. And Fizz, honestly, has rose to power in Europe. A lot of European teams have been using him. Lee Sin taken away from Diamond Prox. No shocks there. Ari, focus bans. Bjergsen, clearly the focus. We talked about him in the featured matchup. He's the man that they have to focus on in these bans.
You always focus him out, as they do all 3 bans right up Bjergsen. And there's an interesting thing that I found amongst these teams, is Diamond's most played jungle was actually Jarvan this split, which when you think of Diamond, you think of Lee Sin, you think of
Evelyn.
Eve even, you don't think of Jarvan. Likewise, Maluno had 10 Jarvan games, which was even more. And I actually wonder if that now becomes the most contested pick amongst these guys. Obviously not with Thresh, who, by the way, was Voidal's 8 games on him. And he's actually only ever won with 2 different champions, so they better get Thresh.
They better make sure they get Thresh. It does mean that Zach is available, and as you mentioned, I'm pretty sure you're going to see Jarvan locked in here for Maluno. I'd be amazed.
That's a great combo too.
Yeah.
Zach and Jarvan just work so well together, and it will also give Mimer some success. Obviously, Mimer hasn't had the most amazing games. His best champion actually is Shen, who they had to ban away from Darien because Gambit will always first pick it. Zach seems like a safe fallback.
He actually plays a lot of Evelyn in solo kill top lane as well, which is something they've never really allowed him to get through yet. We'll see how it works. Rise didn't work out 100% successful. He did have a couple of wins on it, but Misfortune, interesting, could be taking that away from Genja.
Yeah, that would be a pretty smart thing for them to do. Even though Freeze has pretty much all of his games on Caitlyn, AD carries pride themselves on being able to play pretty much as many as possible. And it's mainly picking this to just take it away from Genja, because Genja had gotten very comfortable on Misfortune. And this is what a lot of teams are trying to do, just to throw him off.
Well, we just saw Kraton in game 1 having a fantastic match on Misfortune, instantly calling bans for the next 2 games running after that. So they're making sure this time it is going to be, like you say, Freeze who will be with him. Is Alexic really going to go for Orianna this early on? Yes, he is.
Wow.
He really wanted that champion. I think he knew, obviously, that's what one of the champions, Bjergsen, would go for. If Cogmore comes out, that would be a big change around.
That would be very old school if they end up going for the Cogmore. The Orianna pick as well is a generalist pick for Alex in another one of these mid lane matchups where both of these guys play everything. Bjergsen and Alex, 15 unique champions in this split, which is just absolutely absurd. And Orianna, of all of them, is the generalist, but they do go for top.
He did have an incredible Orianna game in Moscow, if I recall, against Aranea. Against Alternate, but effectively it was Aranea. Aranea was on him all the time with Lee Sin, but he was just unkillable. But Cogmore's a champion we have not seen for a number of weeks as an AD carry.
And I wonder if they're picking this in response to the Misfortune almost, thinking that he's going to be able to outrange her very substantial late game team fights. But it's not because NIP doesn't have strong diving potential. Think about just going at it with Zach and Jarvan is dangerous in itself. They're basically just picking that because they want to have huge amounts of damage coming up. Think back to the old Gambit days. You run triple threat with Cogmore. So Darien might want to pick a high thing, or like they have a threat from the jungle as well, so there you go.
Yeah, so Diamond going to be that aggressive Evelyn. We'll see if it works out for him. It's actually, Evelyn always seems to be one of those hit and miss champions. It's either going to be really big impact on the game or just be a complete flop.
Yeah, especially the way Diamond's been playing it. He actually hasn't had much success with it this split. And that makes the threat thing just kind of go through the roof.
It's a lot of threat.
Everyone's going to be going in. This is the Gambit way of protecting the Cogmore. is you just create so many distractions that you hope people forget about it.
So looks like Gambit going for that chaotic game. Meanwhile, Talon being pulled out by Bjergs, and wow, if I recall back, it was Nukduk that actually played Talon in the LCS European around about 2 weeks ago, and he had a massive game.
Talon is really good, especially with what is now an AoE composition. He's basically like a suicide bomber sometimes. He'll just go in, blow his ultimate twice, everyone else on the team is dead.
Not sure that's a politically correct term, but we'll stick with it. It seems to work well. And well, against Ariana, definitely would work very well. Of course, he's going to be diving out, but more importantly, against the Cogmore, he could absolutely explode him.
Yeah. You're one to call me for saying politically incorrect things on air. Really?
Yeah, I know. No need to highlight that. I've had a few moments of my own, but here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you just joined us, it is the European playoffs, of course. We had that crazy Super Week just, well, 5 days ago here in Cologne. Oh, it was a long day, Jack. It was a long day. It was 12 matches, six ways tie-off effectively. Alternate, of course, they beat SK Gaming and forced SK Gaming into the relegation battle. Well, Alternate are now in that position. They're going to have to play the loser of this match, while the winner of this match, of course, will be facing off against Lemon Dogs, who are top of the league. So it's a big, big ask for both teams, but it is all about a place in Season 4, because the winner of this game will be in Season 4, guaranteed.
These guys have quite an act to follow as well. We just went all 3 games, EG versus Alternate, with the 3rd game being the closest of all. And Gambit honestly has just as much expectation, if not more, than EG of making it into Worlds. Because if we think back to the Season 2 World Championship, every team had their eyes set on beating Gambit because they were the world dominators last season. And now, if they don't win this set, they don't even get to go again.
Well, I can tell you, Alex, it was very emotional after losing that first game against Evil Geniuses that forced them in towards the lower seeding. They couldn't get that second buy, of course, position against Fnatic. Evil Geniuses had that, and they lost it. That was what Gambit wanted. They wanted that guaranteed seeding into the semi-finals. Instead, they're going to have to go the long way. Ninjas in Pyjamas, well, they realize they are the underdogs coming into this game. They've had discussions with fans around the ground, and they were like, yeah, I hope you play well, but, you know, unlucky son. That was Bjergs that actually was telling me that. He was like, yeah, clearly there's a lot of Gambit fans here, so.
Just a couple.
We'll see how this works out. So, level 1 shenanigans, nothing lookingly like it's going to be completely crazy. Looks like Ninjas in Pyjamas want to get that ward down, but we do see Mexich in defensive position.
Yeah, and this seems a lot more aggressive than we saw in any of the level 1s in the EG versus Alternate games. But also a fairly aggressive hold there by Alex, just making sure they don't get deep positioning of their wards into the red belt. Alex knows exactly where that first ward is, and he also knows NIP didn't get any extras.
So it looks like Voidal's going to get in there and get some wards down. Do see actually went for the signal ward. They haven't got very deep wards at all, so they're not going to have good coverage of Ninjas in Pyjamas. And at the moment, we do have that pause, of course, which means we're waiting for the players. It's generally the start of the games. We are looking at Diamond. Looks like Darian's the one with the pause. He's talking to the referee at the moment. You can see he's got his options open, so I guess he's thinking, I didn't get my key bindings right.
Well, I hope he did, because they had plenty of time to set up, and you were actually not allowed to pause or having key bindings wrong. You have to set that on your own time. There was a slight delay during the EG game as well, but that was also able to sort out. Hopefully this is a quick one as well.
Well, I like the fact that there is 4 referees stood behind them.
They all got
the response time is strong. They are very much aware. He looks like he's happy. The Lizard Man, Darian, by the way, if you've not seen that video from Diamond, it was from DreamHack, actually, week 1 that Gambit themselves released. It's quite funny. You gotta watch it. It's the facial expressions that gamers make.
Okay.
Darian, keep your eyes on that player cam. You guys here in the audience can see the player cams all the time, so you just keep an eye on his tongue. He is the Lizard Man during gaming. The focus face, I believe it is, that gamers tend to have. But we are live once again. So 2 minutes coming up, and obviously looks like it's going to be no invades, no late delayed invades either.
So standard lanes coming out. Also, it looks like we're going to be seeing 2v2 in the bottom lane, which could be very dangerous for Ninja and Voidal. I know they have said they've made a lot of strides recently But unless Voidal gets some very clutch jet sentences out, they're going to lose a lot of trades.
So let's see how this aggression works out. Like you say, Voidal's got to wear some of those hits. Genja, the only escape he's going to have is that singular flash, and there is so much to lock him down. Maluno, of course, could come dumping in on his head. Pyjamas could be bouncing on him. Deficio could land those grasping roots. So, like, there's so much that could just catch him out. There's good harassment out from Deficio here, actually, onto Genja as well.
Yeah, that lane is going to be a very tricky thing, but I want to see how this mid lane goes as well between Alex and Bjergsen's talent. We have not seen that much talent, and it is not necessarily a good laner early. Bjergsen really needs to pick his spots against Alex's Orianna, who has amazing early harass.
And Alex, of course, starting out with that cloth, short cloth armor, so making sure he's going to be strong against him. Diamondprox is waiting in the wings in this bottom lane, and there's actually no ward coverage, so he has got himself in towards that push early. Freeze Deficio, are they going to sell this one? Sticking fairly tight on that lane. I don't think they want to go too deep. Sure enough, they throw that plant down. They didn't get the vision of Diamond. He's going to sneak himself across. Has that stealth lasted long enough again to get that push? It looks like he has.
Oh, he doesn't want to go too far. He's spotted.
He's spotted, and Deficio is going to immediately back away from this one. Tries to put the hate spikes on Freeze, and Freeze just backs off, no problem.
And that's a lot of time invested for Diamond with no reward. Was not even able to leech that much experience during all that, and getting ahead on Eve is incredibly important for him, because we said it's a hit or miss champion for him. Now it's Maluna's time to gank.
There was an early back here from Darian. He went back, got himself that regrowth pendant and a couple of wards, and you can see he's warding out that Tribush, so making sure he's safe in the top lane. Meanwhile, in this mid lane, Maluna coming, looking, getting the knock up on Alex Ich, not getting any support from Bjergsen, and Alex Ich turns aggressive on this one, puts that ignite down, he's smelling that double buff.
Well, that's one way to deal with the gank. Just start hitting him and realize you pushed Bjergsen back so far in that lane that he can't go through and support, particularly the size of the minion wave there gave Alex Ich absolute confidence that he'd be able to deal with that gank. That lane is not going to turn at all towards Bjergsen until he gets at least level 6.
So let's look at this top lane, since we are seeing Diamond heading that way. Mima versus Darian, Aatrox versus Zac. It's not a standard lane, but Aatrox definitely is starting to make a popular term, certainly in the European scene anyway, that's for sure. The top lane and the jungle.
That top lane for Darian is just surviving for now against Zac, and Diamond has spent so much time roaming around and not farming. He's really putting himself in a hole if he doesn't get anything going here on Eve.
Keep our eye on whether manages to get it. Of course, speaking of Maluno, he is heading in towards the bottom lane. He's going to be able to sneak in towards that bushes without being spotted. He's got a blue buff still on him at the moment. Let's see whether he can get on towards Voidal or Genja. There's a singular ward. There's no ward placement whatsoever from Gambit down this bottom lane.
Yeah, this bottom lane ward placement for Gambit is just worn out. They had picks early, but they got counter picked.
To catch up to Voidal, forces the flash away from Voidal there. Freeze taking a lot of damage from Genja. Straight trade.
Not much doing there, even though they had Maluno go down, even though they had the wards out. It just wasn't smooth enough for their gank back against Gambit.
So the real battle right now is actually in terms of creep scores, CS between the two. Alex Ich, he's got a 10 CS lead over Bjergsen. Genja's actually got a 10 CS lead over Fleet, something you don't see too often.
No, really not. That's a very impressive performance so far by Genja and Voidal, but the gank returns yet again.
Oh, Genja's going to try and get away from this one. He's going to have the flash here. He doesn't want to use it. He left it till the last minute there. Knew the Diamond was coming in, but that's put Voidal in position. He hasn't got flash. That's going to be first blood. Freeze taken low, but it doesn't matter. Deficio gets the kill.
And support first blood, not the best, but still going to be worth it. They got the first gank, they got the flash down from Voidal, and then the second gank is the one that ends with the kill.
Genja, of course, that flash down for him. I wouldn't be surprised to see Maluno paying their second visit down here. Bjergsen taking some damage from Alex in that mid lane, still 10 CS behind. Darian trying to put the pressure on towards Mima. Mima being forced against the tower now, and actually, Darian is starting to develop a bit of a lead in that lane.
Yeah, Darian's doing all right. I wouldn't necessarily call it a lead, 42-40, when the wave is pushing up against Mima as well. Those two Dorn shields right now, especially with how both of these guys sustain like crazy, not much I don't think is going to happen in that lane unless they go really all in against each other or they get some kind of junk game.
So Seeker's arm guard for Alex Ich, building in towards the fact that he is against the Talon, of course, in lane. Meanwhile, Bjergsen himself is about to back and fight. We'll see what he comes out with. Straight brutalizer.
Yeah, he wants full damage on Talon, especially with Black Cleaver, because of the way Bjergsen can just go in on Talon, blow all of his cooldowns almost immediately. He can shred close to a whole team which will work amazingly with Freeze if he rushes a Bloodthirster and a Last Whisper to just combo down a team inside a Cataclysm.
So the triple Doran's Blade from Genja, as always.
All reliable.
Yeah.
Goes back to Kog'Maw, always goes for triple Dorans. You know, he was already winning the lane a little bit against Freeze, and he's just trying to cement his advantage right now, getting those quick triple Dorans.
But how does that stack up against a double Dorans and a Vampiric Scepter, which of course Freeze went back and got? Surely Freeze is going to be way ahead in terms of build now.
Yeah, surprisingly, at the very start of the game, Doran's Blades aren't that much worse than Lifesteal because Doran's Blades give him the life on hit and Lifesteal's based off your pull.
Shockwave on Bjergsen, he's going to go stealth with that ultimate. Is it going to be enough to help him get away? Yes, it will be. Alexic himself with that blue buff going aggressive. Bjergsen is going to get the blue buff from Maluna, but he is low. He's lucky that Diamond isn't around there.
Pretty good early aggression there by Alex, but only being 10 minion kills up on Bjergsen, and then also not being able to combo him up, isn't the best for them at this point in the game. I actually feel like Bjergsen is winning that lane in a sense of only being down 18 kills without dying.
So the red buff pops up and Diamond's going to be on that one. Let's see whether he goes looking for those ganks, because he has been fairly unsuccessful with creating any opportunities. Cataclysm from Maluna, jumping on towards Voidal. Voidal has no flash, but he's managed to tank this one off very well because Freeze, he was being put off by Genja and he was keeping him under situation. Diamond is creeping in there.
Yeah, Genja's aggression there is absolutely what saved Voidal defensively, and Diamond's not going to be able to sneak far because there is a pink ward as far forward in that lane as possible while still being in the bush, which is letting NIP push up pretty aggressive.
So that aggression in the mid lane is giving Alexic a bit of an advantage, but you can see the defensive ball comes out. He hasn't got Shockwave, remember, he used it a moment ago. Bjergsen will pick up the kill on Alexic.
That's what Bjergsen was waiting for. That's why I was saying he was winning the lane, even though he was down 20 kills, because when he goes in on Alex, he can go in on Alex, and that was very impressive there by Bjergsen, finding his spot.
If Shockwave may have given him that time, he knew he had that limited window while the cooldown was down, that he'd already blown it on him. And that may well push him ahead in that lead. He's going to go back himself, pick up probably, I was talking about the big boots, going straight pickaxe and a pink ward, got to defend against Diamond.
So if he's going for the pickaxe, that almost tells me he's going to try to rush a Last Whisper as quickly as possible, and he doesn't care about, right now, the Black Cleaver shred for the overall team. Definitely going for individual domination now, maybe team help later.
Darien out, heavily up lane there, and he's going to get caught out. Double knock off Darkflight. Oh, Darkflight gets interrupted nicely by Let's Bounce. That's surely Darien going to go down. Who will pick up the kill? It is going to be the Bloodwell being used. Will they give it across to Mima, or will Maluna decide to take this one? It is going to be Maluna that secures it. I don't think they really cared who was going to pick that up in the end, but they needed to secure it.
Yeah, as long as Darien didn't get away, and that kill was completely secured by Mimer's timing on Let's Bounce to stop the escape from Darien. And we knew that lane was going to be pretty farm heavy. Let's take one more look at this gank. Darien just trying to jump. You're not going anywhere, buddy.
Dark Path completely interrupted there by Let's Bounce. I'm not sure whether he actually timed it for that, whether he just happened to do Let's Bounce. Give him the benefit of the doubt.
It's always nice to give the player credit for things like that. As Diamond looks to go in behind this turret, he's got to do this quickly because Maluna has this right ready to come in for a counter gank. They could just collide.
NIP actually already pinged it, so I think they realized that he was around there. We do see the hook on towards Freeze there, and again, successfully defended. I think Ninja Pyjamas simply ready for that one.
Diamond really hasn't been able to get involved in this game. He spent so long at level 3, running bottom, mid, and top without farming for multiple minutes, and didn't get anything out of it. Now he's trying to farm a little bit of it back, but he's definitely not on the pace of a carry jump that he wants to.
Trying to put in pressure and continuing to keep it on Darien, trying to get that Sunfire Cape built up quickly. Darien going for a different build here. Normally, he does rush that Bloodthirster, but it doesn't seem he's going to go that way this time. He goes for that pickaxe on the way back.
Might be going for... I'm not sure entirely what he's going for. Tiamat, maybe? Or Gravitas.
They're going to dive on Diamond. Look at the pressure coming out there. Shockwave Yuzo pulls in Maluna. They're going to turn this one back around. The Ignite's on him. It will be Alex Easter picks up the kill. Bjergsen with his combo use has to back off.
That was quite a turnaround there by Alex Siege, since they didn't even have the Eve ultimate from earlier. Able to come out under one for 0 is actually an incredible thing try to keep them in this game because they were falling a bit behind on kills.
We see the hook, the play, the box goes down. Strangleborns will come out and they see bullet time keeping him at bay. Genja taking the full wave of bullet time there for Freeze.
So that hook almost was the doom of Voidal. Genja had to just maneuver as both the giant AoEs came down from NIP's bot lane. That's a very scary battle down there as they're really close in CS.
Good double up there as well, and Genja with full force in their face, but he will continue to keep that farm going. He had built an advantage early on, like you mentioned, but he's let it slip away a bit here. Darien back in towards that top lane. He's getting himself a secondary growth beat, so not really sure which way he's going with his build at the moment, but it's split across 3 different items.
Yeah, I think he's going for that Tiamat or the Ravenous Hydra later, just because he needs enough damage to cut through Zac. Otherwise, it would just be a giant sustained battle. And that's not really the way Darien wants to play right now.
Yeah, it could be a different build certainly from him. See how it works, of course. We were watching Wicked played it during Super Weed Aatrox. It's actually Wicked's favourite champion now.
Yeah.
It's past Aurelia. Aatrox is now his favourite champion, which is no surprise to see Aaron out that was picking away from him, so he's taking it off him. So just giving hints out to anyone else that's going to be playing against Evil Geniuses. But I think everybody know that because he's been playing it non-stop on his solo queue.
Looks like NIP, they're seeming to be in a pretty good position right here because Diamond hasn't taken over too much with Eve so far. Darien is going mostly Glass Cannon Aatrox, which may be going to work out near the end. But if they have so many people going damage early on for Gambit, Bjergsen going in at the same time as Freeze's bullet time might just be enough to wipe Gambit off the map. And I wouldn't actually be surprised if NIP goes for a dragon fight fairly soon.
Yeah, I believe if Diamond or Genja officially get locked up in one of those capitals and bullet time follows it, can't imagine they're going to survive too much after that. It's the combo they're going to be looking towards. As it is this mid lane, the pairing of Hitch versus Bjergsen, both have a killer piece right now. Darien actually putting some good damage down on lane. Starting to make Mima think twice. He has still got that CS lead, Mima, which is something we haven't seen for a great deal of. I'm trying to think back across the many games we've had. He hasn't really caught on towards him with his mini threes. Oh, it's a great lock up from Show. Strangleborns completely keeps him away.
Burns the flash though, so Diamond should be back after that one. Also, Voidal's going to have flash and the box the next time they want to go in. So this is now a dangerous thing for NIP to do. They've lived in this lane on Gambit's side. Maybe they're going to get pushed back now.
His ward's actually stacked in that river as well. I guess one of them is about to run out. There is definitely 2 of them there. No, look at that. Oh, that's terrible.
Whoops.
Whoops, indeed. That's a lot of gold to waste.
Yeah. That's not going to be good for them.
It's early on, that is, could well be a problem. We do have 3 members back in that bottom lane. The top lane, Darien and Mima continue to rub up on each other. Diamond trying his best to take down and get in, just create anything right now, because all he's actually got the assist, ironically, on the Maluna kill, when it was just completely caught out.
Now Maluno's also trying to make a bit of action. We talked about Diamond not doing too much thus far, but Maluno, aside from that 1 kill he got on Darien, has been fairly ineffectual. Still just kind of showing his face. He's now about a level and a half behind Diamond, just hitting level 9 for Maluno. He's got to become fairly tanky on Jarvan if he wants to be able to buddy in with Zac later on.
Ping's going down, that is Bjergsen heading south. He is going to pass the ward in the tri-bush. Instead, he might go face to face with Alex Hitch. Alex Hitch is like, nope. Throwing that attack ball out, getting full vision of this crazy assassin in the mid lane. Genja though, just trying to put pressure on towards Freeze. Freeze sidestepping out their sentence.
This lane is still starting to turn a little bit for Genja, even though they had given up that 1 death towards Voidal earlier. The farm he's been able to create after going that triple door and start could really benefit them in the late game.
Ultimate engage on Alex Hitch in that mid lane, but he just steps away. He spotted that Diamond was coming up there with that ping ward. Bought him time now. Diamond headed back down south. They know he's there. Maluna's heading him off.
Yeah, it looks like Maluna, I don't think Diamond's going to be able to go on to that one. Maluna spent a lot of time just mimicking Diamond throughout the map.
Well, that is the top lane turret we saw. Of course, that massacre being used to take turrets down by Wicked just in the Super Week. And with that Hydra on, Darien doing a great bit of work in that top lane, keeping Mima well off that turret and just taking the turret down so fast. First turret of the game.
Yeah, it seems like he's just been able to out-shove thanks to the Tiamat build, and Mima just hasn't been able to keep pace despite getting a lot of attention from Maluno. Darien doing work on that Aatrox.
So the back lane, bottom lane, sorry, are backing off. The F sword was already picked up by Genjo. I guess he's going to go for that Vampire Acceptor now, or will he go for the boots? Of course, he hasn't got any boots.
Berserker Grease.
Berserker Grease required. He wasn't very mobile on Fogmore. It's almost certainly a requirement. Let's have a look across the items. Which way are they stacking? Alex Itchy's been back. He's got himself that tier as well on there. So I don't know how long he's been stacking that one out. Source boots as well as those Seeker's Arm Guards he bought really early on. Seeker's Arm Guards also picked up by Diamond Prox as well on the jungle Evelyn. Meanwhile, of course, that last business was completed by Bjergsen some time ago. Sunfire Cape being picked up by Mima a while ago as well. Looks like the Bloodthirster will be the final item as well, being picked up by Squeeze in the next batch. Itches back off. Looks up a 4-pot actually.
Yeah, Bjergsen's going to be incredibly potent right now, since he's at pretty much maximum penetration for him right now with all the percent plus the flag coming out from the Brutalizer. And I don't think Alex can really match him at this juncture in the game. Likewise, the items on the 80 carry definitely go for freeze.
Flash being burned out by Alex there as Mima uses the elastic slingshot to try and catch on towards him. Forces him back, and that's going to start off the Dragon, I believe.
Yeah, especially with Darian just going back to base right now. We thought that NIP would kind of force the Dragon on Bjergsen to level 11, but he's all the way to level 14 right now. So this is a very late Dragon to get, and a difficult contest if Gambit wanted to stop him.
That was Maluna using his smite. Diamond didn't get close enough, didn't go for that, and they didn't even try and create any advantages in that mid lane either. They could just sort of split around the sides and just couldn't decide what to do.
Gold also just evening out because of that one. I mean, obviously Gambit just didn't have the opportunity to go in for that Dragon at that moment because obviously Darian was back beforehand, couldn't get 5 people there to fight.
201 CS being picked up by Alex Itch now, 18 minutes 46 into this game. Pressure continuing to keep that farm on Bjergsen. Bjergsen doing a pretty damn good job of keeping up with him though. He gets 72 on Talon. Talon, the champion we've seen once in the European LCS, and I don't think we saw it at all in North America.
No, it was not played this split in North America whatsoever. It's a risky hit that comes out for him, but occasionally it can work. Sounds great.
This is Mima in trouble here. Let's bounce being used. Bloodwell is available for Darian. He's going to turn to get the blood price down on towards Mima. He's going to have the damage to slow him down, and Mima realizes he's in trouble. That passive will be popped. Just Darian is just going to try and clear this one up, but no. Maluna comes in. The passive will come back from Darian. He gets back in there. Will he be able to get the kill? Yes, he will. He's going to try and get out of this one though. Cataclysm will lock him down. He has got Dark Path available in a couple of moments, which is why he's trying to buy time to get away from it. Dark Path's the opposite direction. Realizes that he wasn't going to get away from Bjergsen.
Yeah, but that was Darian versus the world, and it gives the rest of Gambit so much time to go elsewhere. He's smiling and shaking his head after that one because he realizes how strong what he did just was for the overall team strategy of Gambit.
And 4 members of Gambit, they're collapsing in towards this bottom lane. There's the ultimate from Diamond. You see Stranglethorns using defensive formation. Alex Itch coming around the side. They don't quite have enough to push through. They're going to get themselves a 3rd turret of the game in the bottom lane though.
They were still able to get the mid turret as well as the bottom turret, basically thanks to what Darian created up in the top lane.
So big plays coming out. Gambit turning the game on its head just like that. 2,000 gold ahead. Now putting pressure on towards the first inner turret of the game. Gambit not hanging around here. Once they start getting that advantage, they do tend to punish the blue box. Is it going to be up? Are they going to go towards it? I don't think it's available. They are just going to back off.
Yeah, but a job well done when they decided to back off there as well. Darian's still actually just going into Tabby and help. He doesn't care about the magic damage Mima is throwing back at him. He just has so much confidence in that 1v1 matchup, and he's instead itemizing for the rest of the team because he knows he's going to have to be in the fray for those 2 fights against Bjergsen and Freeze, who have almost completed their big combo there. Black Cleaver finished for Bjergsen, which means the bullet time from Freeze is going to hurt an extra bit.
Going to put some damage down, and Darian without passive this time. Bjergsen going big at him. Darian tries to use that dark fly, but Bjergsen is going to have his gap closer back available in a moment. No, good slow, and Darian flashes away.
Pretty much the only way he could have guaranteed escape against Bjergsen there is by using the slow right before the flash. Still a good force there by Bjergsen, and this is Bjergsen trying to carry a little bit. All the roaming he's doing is because he's trying to help out the rest of the team. That's leaving Alex free to farm in that mid lane. 246 CS on Oriana, only 21 minutes in.
Top turret goes down. First one of the game for Ninjas in Pyjamas there. First time that Bjergsen, who I believe will be split pushing pretty much for the rest of this game, is going to cause problems because who is going to be able to deal with him to go and just go 1v1 him?
They're hoping that it's Darian. Darian just needs to get a few more items. You can see how he just built that cloth armor right afterwards, after he nearly got killed down by Bjergsen. And Darian also didn't have, I believe he didn't have his ultimate that last time they thought about it. This could be round 2. Let's see how he deals.
Face check straight away from Darian. This time he does walk away from that one. Bjergsen choose not to finish that.
I don't know if he actually could have. He used his entire burst, and Darian has amazing turnaround potential with Aatrox. I think he recognized that he didn't quite burst him out. That wasn't a fight he was necessarily winning straight away.
Just recognizing the position, Freeze is going to get himself a big chunk of farm in this bottom lane, while the rest of Gambit are sticking around the mid lane. Mima and the rest of NIP starting to try and create a focus on this mid turret, but Voidal's in there doing a defense. Genja himself is off farming, as he always is. He is just taking down the bottom golems. He's shoved his bottom lane up enough that the Fisho will have to help freeze up bottom lane once again. Top lane though, look, it's Alex Eats, the farming master. He's heading towards 300 CS very quickly.
He's absolutely just going to as many free lanes as possible and farming up the storm. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is honestly in farm mode. Everyone on their team is out farming right now. Even though Genja had about 2,400 gold there, he didn't go for Infinity Edge. He actually went for Blade of the Ruin King instead. So that BS sword was really just for the early attack damage, it seems, on Kog'Maw. Now it's Blade of the Ruin King and looking very strong at this point in the game of Kog'Maw.
Boots of Swiftness being picked up by Bjergsen as well. So he's going to be steaming around the map very quickly. +3 boots. What are Gambit doing? They are gathering. They put that ping wall down in the middle. Dragon is up in 43 seconds. They may well go for the blue invade.
And this could be the fight that decides a lot. It's been a very close game if they decide to go for it. If they don't go for the blue, at the very least they're going to go for the dragon soon after.
Didn't get the steal. Bjergsen managed to pick up that blue buff. He's just trying to create a situation. Top lane has been shoved in. Now Darian in towards this mid lane, who himself has actually got some pretty good farm on the go as well. So a number of champions, number of players, all hitting 200+ CS.
And this game just hasn't really started yet. They've had a bit of turret trading. Gambit took down the outer shell, but then they haven't been able to find ways to actually get within NIP. They're still scared a little bit, I think, of Bjergsen and Freeze. That combo is amazingly potent if they catch Gambit in the right spot. And they have the potential to, just because Maluno can put down Cataclysm very timely in any type of dragon fight. This is a dangerous place for Gambit to be.
Mima ready to go, does cancel out the elastic slingshot, puts that ping ward down. Darian going in there. What's that ball delivery system? If he uses that dark flame, dives on in. Of course, we got to realize how potent that shockwave could be on Ninjas in Pyjamas if it's used in the right position, which is why they have to be very careful of this entrance to the dragon.
This is exactly the type of fight NIP wants, though. I feel like Maluno's going to try to initiate at any point. The only thing Gambit has to do in return is get a good shockwave down.
There's the elastic slingshot. Let's bounce being used. It splits Gambit across there. Strangleforce does manage to find his target, but it's a great shockwave. Deficio will go down. Bjergsen taking very low at the back. He gets dropped. Sonya's outguns from Alex Itch has been burnt down. Maluno taking low. Mima getting in there. He gets dropped. Freeze tries to get in, tries to turn the Darian down, but he gets dropped as well because Darian is very strong, and the passive goes down into 4 for 2 to Gambit Gaming.
Gambit spread out so well as that fight was just beginning. All the AoE from NIP could not be used in synergy, and now Gambit's going to pick up a dragon afterwards. Check this out. As soon as Mima goes in, everyone splits up, and then Alex waits patiently to land his crescendo. Darian jumped right on Freeze, stopped the bullet time from comboing overall, but everything in that fight actually went in Gambit's way, and that's why they came out ahead, despite NIP being the ones who wanted the fight.
The irony is that Voidal won, landed that death sentence, went straight in there, put the box on, he kept Freeze way out the back, which is kind of where he wanted to be, but then he realized, hang on a minute, the rest of the team are dead. Now I've got to go in on my own, so bullet time not quite as successful as it needed to be. Great engage and disengage effectively from Gambit. So 6-6 in kills. It is a 3,000 gold advantage being built up by Gambit. That is of course in the form of all of those turrets they have picked up there. Genja turning from that lane, as you mentioned earlier, with that Blade of the Ruin King. Going to be sitting on a pretty much a stack of gold here because I don't believe he's beating back after that fight right now. Yeah, 1,500 gold on him, so he's going to go back and find himself probably Bloodthirster.
It's actually the thing that you do to yourself when you build with triple Thorin's Blade is you starve yourself of slot efficiency, so the only time Genji can actually go back is when he's got about 2,000 gold because he needs to complete it. I'd expect him to actually go Infinity Edge right after that one because that's the general path these guys do when they king on things like Kog'Maw, and he's just kind of powering up. Even though he died in that fight, you kind of saw an example of how chaotic Gambit can make these team fights and how NIP might end up just forgetting about Kog'Maw.
Pressure back on that mid lane. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they have the wave in there with the siege minion, but look at this on the side. Darian's going aggressive. He's put a lot of damage down towards Maluna. Alex was only waiting in the wind. Shockwave is available, and now the pull delivery on towards Darian. They're trying to speed him up. They're going to try and catch him up towards Mima. Mima has to allow him to shot away.
And I'm barely sliding away there. Didn't have to really burn any spells though, but it shows that Gambit is looking to fight and really trying to push NIP off of their territory. Gambit's going to take a little bit of the jungle here, keep farming up, and continue this pace that's gotten the lead.
Alex's tier has turned into that Seraph's Embrace, while of course his Archangel Staff rather than the tier itself. That'd be a big upgrade straight away, but it is going to be a lot of damage done on towards that inner turret. That's not going to survive another wave from Gambit. And the rest of NIP realizing that situation, they can't back away yet.
And Bjergsen actually goes for another Brutalizer on top of his already Black Cleaver. He might turn that into a Ghost Blade, but he's very heavily going just for armor penetration instead of going for a huge amount of attack damage as he goes in and tries to just bomb the other team. And I'd be turning this one around a little bit because they recognize Genji went to split push off at the bottom lane because he wants to get that last bit of item for his Infinity Edge.
This is often the case though for Gambit. Genji will just trot off in lane, not realize the situation that he's in, and maybe putting the rest of his team in as well. And he does manage to force them away. As it is, Ninjas in Pyjamas, they've rotated around straight towards this top inner turret. Gambit are going to react though.
This could be a moment when we see a fight though, because now Gambit's got the Infinity Edge. They're more confident here. I actually don't think Gambit gets a super clean initiation unless somehow Diamond can sneak around the back of the fight and then get comboed with Darian. For the most part, Gambit is actually waiting on NIP to dive into them, so then Gambit can reactively play the team fight.
Yeah, Gambit realizing that everybody backed away from that one. Blue buff has spawned, which is where Bjergsen is running towards, so he's going to pick that one up without any issues. Everybody else farming. Infinity Edge has been completed by Genji, so now he's got that big jump with the power spike, so we'll see how much that works out in the next fight. Of course, let's look towards Darian. Darian's kind of been the playmaker right now. He's put himself that Warden's Mail frozen. Ranian's Omen actually going to be coming out very soon. Meanwhile, Diamond, he went for that Seeker's Arms Guard a long time ago. Not going to be turning it into anything for a while, though.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you can see Gambit's just trying to stack up a fair bit of armor right now. Just because, even though Mimer does do magic damage, he's generally a tank. And there's not that much magic damage coming out from NIP. That's why NIP is going so heavy into the armor penetration right now, because they don't want to be as heavily countered by the armor that Gambit is accumulating. Having the randoms finished on Darian is a very big problem for Freeze. As soon as Darian gets past the line, Freeze doesn't even have the build to actually do a 1v1. He's more about taking out the whole team altogether. I like the position Gambit is in the game right now, and NIP needs to make some type of aggressive move to kind of get Gambit out of this nice mode.
Gambit are rushing up that mid lane. They realize the Ninja Pyjamas are off to the left-hand side. That turret, remember, just needs about 1 or 2 hits. Gambit, though, realizing they're coming across the side. Are they going to engage in this one? Mimer's going to come in. Doesn't use that bounce, just the elastic slingshot there. Boydle going deep. He pulls the box down. Gets the good play, but he gets dropped very quickly. And then Gambit, they're going to try and disengage from this one, but Bjergsen comes rushing in. Bjergsen does get taken down, but he took Diamond Props with him. There's going to be the shockwave whipping out the side because he got taken down before he managed to do the damage. Darian in trouble. He's going to get dropped down. Bloodwell's going to grab Deficio's going to back away from this one. Maluna tries to back away. Instead, he used the Dark Path to try and escape. The flash from Freeze, and it's the ace for Ninjas in Pyjamas. A 5-for-1.
And how close was that fight? Let's take a look at it right again immediately. It is just, how does this fight go so wrong? The bullet time doesn't even get interrupted, but watch the damage Bjergsen does to everyone by the end of that fight. He got both parts of his ultimate off and an extra rake at the end, which then allowed the rest of NIP to just pile on. And to top it all off, Alex never got off his shockwave because the fight was so spread.
There is the Baron for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They are leading against Gambit here. in game one. It's a best of 3, this quarterfinals, of course. It's for a place in the semi-finals tomorrow against the Lemon Dogs. They will be watching these matches with eager anticipation, but because, of course, Gambit are now under pressure.
How are they going to respond to that one? Because that was a disastrous fight for them. They were in such a strong position in this game. Think about the things that Gambit had going their way. Darien had complete shutdown on the freeze. All the farm was accumulated. They had Zonya's onto Alex. Diamond was really the only one who hadn't gotten involved. Their item threshold was complete because of the 50 edge. But Bjergsen, we talk about how much he has to carry this NIP team. And even though he died in that fight, he did so much damage to Gambit that it just allowed the rest of NIP to chase them down. That's not something Gambit can really risk happening. They need to find some way to shut down Bjergsen before you go.
Boots of mobility, sorry, boots of swiftness. No, boots of mobility, I was right at first. I found for Deficio actually after that fight. Dragon being concluded as well. That puts them in the gold lead, just 200 gold, so it's still very close because Gambit did very well in that lane phase.
Also that rocket of the Ancillary comes out from Aluno. Even though it's only really protecting him against the Orianna and Eve damage at this point, this game is just so tense. The gold completely evening out for us.
You can see the haunting guys being picked up and completed by Diamond, so who really has yet to get going. Despite the fact he's 2-1-4, didn't have a very good opening phase, picking up the kills in the big team fight, just mopping up a little bit, as it were. Some Pyjamas there are making their way down towards the bottom. This is going to be the outer turret. Gambit not going to defend this one, not a chance to get down there against NIP.
No, especially not with this Baron buff on NIP. Right now, Gambit needs to get into a position where they aren't at risk of just getting dove on. I've seen so many teams lose games trying to defend this turret. Maybe Gambit feels something differently with this wave clear. But NIP has the potential to come around the back of Gambit, get onto Genja, and really make something happen. They decide not to go.
They are going to back off, play it safe. There's a Baron of opportunity effectively at the end of that, and it's going to have around about 70 seconds left on it by the looks of it. So NIP just making sure they secure every advantage they can, spend a lot of that gold, the hard-earned gold that they picked up there. You see the Kindle gem being stacked onto Deficio. It's going to continue. Look at that though, very early on. Bjergsen, Guardian Angel.
And that is huge. We could see he was building up to it with that Chain Vest and Negatron cloak up until now. And I actually don't know how much it's going to actually benefit him at this point, because he pretty much has the one big spell rotation from his ultimate, and when he comes back up alive, Talon has mediocre DPS at best. I actually think he may have been better served going even more glass cannon there.
We'll see how it works out for him. He's just trying to effectively make himself not the target, but the fact that he's going to be diving against this Gambit anyway almost certainly makes him that target. Darien keeping that wave clear going. NIP, remember, with this rest of his Baron, he's going to have about 20-30 seconds left on it. He's going to try and cause a little bit of a problem on Gambit here, try and pick up any opportunity that they can, see if they can get anything off towards his turret instead. The wave clear from Gambit is very strong.
And once again, it's a very tense moment for both of these teams. There's only a little bit left on this Baron. 20 seconds or so right now. And Gambit, if they get a clean initiation, or if Alex can just find a shockwave, or if Diamond can flank around, it's big. Mimer has this last elastic slingshot, decides not to go in, and that means their Baron's going to expire.
Yeah, it's going to have about 10-12 second cooldown on that one because he cancelled it out. It means it's going to not be up in time before that Baron wears off. NIP will think twice. We already see Bjergsen. He's headed off. He's taking away the blue buff from Alex Ich.
Bjergsen's really starting to take control of this matchup. Despite the amazing farm of Alex Ich, it hasn't really came into any benefit in team fights. He keeps thinking about coming in and attack, but he's just baiting him out.
Darien. A lot of damage actually on that turret. Bjergsen's going to be on his own. He's taking that turret down. Diamond's the only one there. He's going to try and get some damage back on towards him. Take's not doing a great deal to him just yet.
No, hasn't been able to push too much in that side lane. He's trying to turn himself into a bit of a split pusher, only so then Bjergsen can later collapse into team fights to make things happen.
The bottom lane has pushed itself up, which means NIP can steal away that red buff. Freeze will probably head down there, clear that off. Ninja Pyjamas will back out. So, how do we gauge it, Jack? We are looking at these two teams. It's 1,000 gold between them. The two team fights we've had have gone either way so far. Who has the big advantage?
That's way too close to
Yeah.
call right now.
Well, just
If I knew who had the big
Yeah, hanging
advantage,
there
then we
with that
wouldn't
one.
have to play the games.
In terms of teams right now, who has the advantage? Let's narrow it down.
I mean, what have we been talking about for the past 36 minutes right here? So Bjergsen wants to go in and just do as much damage as possible. Yes, he has the Guardian Angel completed at this point. But at the same time, Gambit is turtling very hard right now because they want more time for Genja. Alex is approaching 6 items despite not being in any teamfight kills, and they need to isolate enough so Darian can go and shut down Freeze himself. It's really just this stalled back and forth before they really decide who's going to win the game at this point. It needs to be resolved with big teamfights.
Darian's becoming a walking tank right now. He's got that chamber running on with that Ninja Tabby. And of course the Randy and Zoe he picked up himself earlier on. What else is he going to go with that one? Is that going to be a Sunfire Cape that's going to follow, or...?
For Darian?
Yeah.
Do not know. He has 2 items. Don't necessarily
Either go
help
into
each
one.
other.
Yeah.
He's got to pick one, and then he'll go for it. He could really go any number of options. Thornmail would actually be decent for him because he has so much lifesteal, because he's running pretty much right at Freeze. But he does have a lot of options.
Look at Ninja Pyjamas, they're waiting just off the side. The Fishy wants to get his grasping roots on towards Darian. They're trying to keep him at bay, slowing him down for Mima. Bjergsen is taking away the red buff of his own jungle, so he's going to secure that one while Gambit continue to push in. Remember, that inner turret, it just needs a bit of a breath of fresh air and it will go down. So that's what Gambit are trying to get towards. Get themselves just a little bit of bonus gold and it would turn it around. But they've got to be careful, they don't go too deep because that's a massive shot. Bullet time comes out, Diamond gets completely locked up. Hasn't gone down yet though, the H-Spike shield's working out, but Genja, they just gets melted down there. They can see this shockwave pulls off, Bjergsen, Guardian Angels has been popped, but Alex is not going to be able to turn this one around. Darian and Voidal, the only 2 to survive and back off in this one. It was a 3-0 from NIP.
And the timing could not be more perfect for NIP if they wanted to go Baron, but because it's a 5-for-3, they can just continue to push in this mid lane. The start of that fight was so clean for NIP that the rest of it was just following up.
Everything goes down, that's going to be the inner turret. Can they get the inhibitor turret? That's what they want, and I think they have the time to make it as well. Darian will return to lane. He's sat waiting in the wings, and actually looks like he's been told, nope, get back to Fountain, you're not going to be able to fight for this one.
Especially because now NIP is just most likely going to run for a Baron off of the inhibitor, and there was a small chance that Gambit would have enough life to go back in. Let's just check out this team fight. Because the Zyra roots landed, it just comboed so much else. So check out Bjergsen once again. Closes the gap onto Genja, and pretty much just takes him out. At the same time, because there was so much gap closed by NIP, Alex couldn't escape the fight, and he got trapped there as well. It was just an onslaught of attacks from NIP. The Gambit had no answer to it.
Now that they have that Baron, it's going to give them a huge advantage. Ironically, the passive of Mana got popped, the Guardian Angel of the Bjergsen got popped. A lot of kills actually came in from Gambit, but because they defended, got the passives, everything was there ready and waiting, could have turned the fight towards Gambit's favor. It still shows that even with the perfect initiation from NIP, they have got a lot of damage there still.
Yeah, NIP had such a good initiation there, would kind of make up for anything else that happened in that fight. Gambit's in a struggle at this point, I feel like. They've given up 2 Barons in a row. Their inhibitor is completely down. And they haven't shown any type of proficiency in these team fights because Gambit hasn't shown an ability to get an initiation. And because of the incredibly strong initiation of NIP, it's just working out for NIP's big lead.
Gambit trying to wait and maybe try and create a gank. They may get it because Maluno and Deficio are both going to face check. No, they're not. They're ready and waiting for it instead. Mima's going to get caught down. A lot of damage on Mima. He has to get away. Stranglebolts comes out. Look at Darian. He's going deep up towards Deficio. He will have the damage to finish off this kill. Maluno's going to have to come in. Cataclysm to try and defend it. And he does hold out. Nicely done there. Slides away. And nothing picked up for Gambit.
And that caught NIP way off guard. Considering they had Baron, they did not expect to see everyone from Gambit there. And you could tell NIP used all their spells completely out of sync. Luckily, they were scattered enough and they ran away quick enough to not get punished too heavily for that outside of the turret.
Gambit do get themselves the inner turret, but they couldn't go too deep because, of course, they've got those super minions in their base, which is why you can see NIP rushing down. They want to stop those backs. Nobody checked the tri-bush.
No, everyone in Gambit is picking their own route back, and it actually means Diamond gets back just in time. A good thing, too, because those super minions can do a lot of work if left unattended, and NIP continues to jump off.
So it was a Guardian Angels for Darian. I mean, why did we doubt that? This is Gambit, ex-Moscow 5, the Guardian Angel team. And well, Darian is now very tanky, and with that Guardian Angels will arise twice with the Blood Belt.
That's a nice thing for them, but considering the rest of their team can get burned out immediately, it might not be the most timely purchase. NIP, with the Baron buff now, has almost their ultimates up again. May look to go for something big fairly shortly, or they can safely just go around the horn, take the other outer turret down in the top lane, and go out about it that way.
Bjergsen not with the team, he's being kept off to the side there, so which is why Gambit were looking to try and do some damage, but instead NIP are as one. And will keep the pressure, the siege pressure on this bottom lane. Here comes the siege minion. Will they try and get in towards the tower? Will Mima launch himself in there? Doesn't look like it. The wave clear is still strong from Gambit. They seem a little unsure on this one. They want to try and get the super minions in this mid lane to try and create a situation, but Darian's doing a good job at keeping that wave clear.
Yeah, this is a very tense moment because NIP is essentially trying to flank around the side of Gambit and stop them from being able to defend this turret from the other 4 members of NIP. And based on the threat that Bjergsen has created the whole game, it might just work.
Yeah, Genja's had to go back and deal with those super minions, which is why you see NIP coming around the side there. Look at Bjergsen dying to get in and to create some situation. Grasping roots do catch on towards Darian, but again, they force them away. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they're on the up against the clock here. There is around about 40 seconds, 30 seconds left on that Baron buff. They're trying to get in there and cause a problem.
But Bjergsen might just be going even more so. Screw the flank anymore. If he can actually go for the Nexus turrets, that might be enough to suck Gambit back. This is the last wave that NIP is going to have with Baron. They're going to try to make something happen, I think.
And make no mistake, if he could get on Genja, he would kill him. There's no doubt about that one. But instead, Gambit have played this game many, many times, this tactical game of chess, defending the Nexus turrets, the inhibitor turrets, and keeping NIP at bay. That Baron about to wear out. Let's see if Gambit try and create something after.
Yeah, I mean, if NIP sticks around once their Baron is gone, there's also a chance that the inhibitor would respawn fairly shortly. There are still some big items coming out from Gambit. Despite NIP's control, it's a 6,000 gold game, and the Baron is gone.
Seems a little crazy, but Bjergsen is going to go in. He goes on towards Void. The left bounce comes across. Bullet time timed nicely there, but Bjergsen very, very low. It's Darian doing the damage. He's already popped his Guardian Angels, and Maluna's going to flash away from this one. Tower damage is back on towards him. Bjergsen doing work over the back there. He will get taken down. Darian is absolutely melting the team. Genja as well at the back. He takes down Mima. Darian is going to have the Bloodwell passes pop there, but you can see Diamond, he got around. He managed to get Deficio. It's a 3 for 2 so far. Make that a 3 for 4. In fact, no. Maluna has managed to get away somehow. And back to base. Defensive stop from Gambit there, and the inhibitor respawn. Why did NIP wait? Baron turned out, then they went aggressive.
The timing was all wrong for NIP. They went in and didn't combo their ultimates specifically right, and Genja was untouched. Unlike the fights that went so well for NIP and Bjergsen killed Genja, Bjergsen couldn't make it this time. The double revive came into full effect for Darian as well, GA and his passive, and allows them to push NIP out of the base and save Gambit a bit more time in the game.
So, GAs, let's have a look at those, because Darian's was popped, his Bloodwell passive was also popped. We also saw Bjergsen's GA go down. Freeze now has himself a GA, so a lot of Guardian Angels across the board, but only one of them up available for the next fight. Baron was burnt as well, and the fact that now Gambit's inhibitor is back up, they are looking to push out the base.
Yeah, I feel like Gambit kind of bought themselves a second life there because they were in a very dire situation as NIP was sieging that turret, and it was so surprising still even that NIP decided to go in after the Baron was up. It wasn't like that was the moment that Genja was off defending a Nexus turret. They were all there. They were waiting for the fight. In fact, we thought Gambit might be the ones going in on NIP. NIP kind of gave it to them there with the 3 for 2 fight.
And it was the Voidals. Voidal got caught in the grasping roots. It seemed to trigger it. Bjergsen just followed straight up, and the rest of the team was,
who cares?
It's go time, let's get in there. Let's have a look across the items. Anything really popping in to raise suspicion? Well, there is a Warmox now on Darian, so he is going to be even stronger in the next fight. Those hit points stacking up strong.
Yeah, Genja is the thing that jumps out to me though, because he is full power offense, and it is incredibly critical, as if it hasn't already been critical enough this game, about whether Bjergsen can get on Genja. Bjergsen's actually bought blue flash boots right now, so he can actually get to Genja more frequently. And here comes the fight in mid anyway.
Oh, that that's actually mistimed, and now Ninjas in Pyjamas in trouble. The shockwave lands from Alex Ich. Maluna taken very low. We've already seen Divicio go down. It's a double kill for Alex Ich. Make that another, because that's going to be Bjergsen getting dropped down now. Freesto's managed to pick himself up a kill. The second, he tries to slide in. Maluna trying to work, but look at that. The triple gate's going to get backfired. Zarian in there. Guardian Angel goes back up. Genjo ready and waiting. Drops the hammer on him, and that's just going to be another kill. It's an ace for Gambit, getting him a 5 for 3.
What a turnaround for Gambit in that fight. Again, NIP engages out of the blue, it seems. Bjergsen was up on a tank while Jarvan decided to go in on Genja, and this just allowed a beautiful counter engage by Alex. There was no threat. Gambit was spread out. They could not get the AoE out on Gambit, and the scattered, chaotic Gambit team with tons of damage just took out all 5 members of NIP.
And that bullet time used very early on. Triple kill for Freezer. That's going to help. He's going to help himself. What's he going to get after that? What else can he get? Is he going to sell the GA maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he just completed the Phantom Dancer, so that like maxed out his items. But that's not necessarily a super potent build. This isn't a 6-item carry without an Infinity Edge. So his actual late game damage is nothing compared to what Genja is going to be outputting. And since Genja picked up so many kills in that fight as well, he's sitting on 1,700 gold. It's actually not the best time for him to farm up a little bit more, but if Genja could get that Guardian Angel and actually stop the ability of Bjergsen to close on him, or even the potential, it's not like Bjergsen's been doing it to him lately, but if he can stop the potential of that happening, it could be enough for Gambit to win this game, which is a ridiculous thought about 10 or 15 minutes ago when NIP was in complete control.
And this is the first time for Gambit that they have been in this situation. Of course, they've been caught out twice, lost the Baron twice because of that. Now they have it themselves. Let's see what they do with it, because they've been up against the wall here. 7-5 in turrets, 19-15 in kills, and NIP with all the advantages, even the gold advantage, is still in NIP's favor. And NIP actually are the ones that are pushing down. They want to clear out those wards, get in there, which is, why would you do this against the powered up team?
Confidence. I mean, they've gotten here before. They know there's an inhibitor that if Gambit leaves completely undefended, NIP would be able to take it and then kind of delay this Baron. When a team has Baron and they're down an inhibitor, they can't necessarily do anything with it. So NIP positioning themselves in this spot at least leaves that threat open. On top of that, Gambit doesn't have the strongest ability to actually initiate onto NIP, so I feel like they're just posturing with that.
Darian going for the Iron Locket as his final item. He really wants to be that brick wall of a tank. NIP though, they want to get towards this inhibitor. This is very, very tricky play. I mean, bearing in mind, I think there's only 2 members of Gambit with that Baron, but it is Darian and Genja.
Yeah, and this game is just getting so late that it's becoming scarier and scarier. Genja is really wanting to get that Guardian Angel. He's on 2,700 gold right now. He's so close. He's running back for it right now, and NIP wants to try to take advantage of this before that happens, because I almost feel like NIP thinks they're running out of time in this game.
He's got it. He's gone back. The Doran's Blade was sold. He's going to be running back to lane. You've got to be careful here, because Gambit, as soon as he returns, may actually try and engage on towards Ninjas in Pyjamas. We do see Alex Ich now attack dissonance on towards Mima. Mima taking a good 1,000 hit points off in there. Deficio off the side. He's dodging out, of course, from the ultimates from Genja, trying to knock him down. Bjergsen seems to be the one that's looking to aggress though.
And it needs to be, because the fights that haven't went well are the ones where Bjergsen doesn't start it. NIP needs Gambit to be low for these fights, to almost give them the edge to power through with the rest of their team. But it almost seems like since we're 50 minutes in, it might be past their time. When they're pushed in this far, one fight could end it for NIP.
Yeah, that's going to cause the attack now, because Bjergsen got caught out, got a lot of poke down on towards him. Gambit tries to try and force him away, and Shirelia's Reverie has to be used by Deficio to make that escape, and NIP back off. So Gambit, it is in their hands now. Aren't they going to go aggressive? The blue buff actually up, and for once, Alex Ich could have that.
Yeah, it's about time for Alex right now. He's also at the 6-item build point, so the farmers on Gambit are really hitting their stride right now. And with all the almost slightly low gold items that NIP's been building on their carries, their 6-item builds just aren't going to be as strong when they hit those points. Gambit seems to have a bit of an edge back in this game.
Alex Ich with that blue buff on. First time in probably around about 30 minutes that he's had that blue buff, so cool down on the shockwave. He's going to pull that trigger a little bit more often. we haven't really talked about the farm. We're at 51 minutes and they're closing in on 500 CS, or certainly Alex is. He's actually managed to stretch that lead over Bjergsen, but really that doesn't matter right now. They both have incredibly huge builds. The second brutalizer built up, by the way, by Bjergsen as well. We haven't noticed on that one for with that.
No,
Black
he's
Reaver.
had that for a really
a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, he just hasn't been able to. He hasn't completed it because getting the Ghost Blade at this point wouldn't do him too much good aside from a little bit of extra move speed. One interesting thing here is the junglers are comparatively incredibly low in farm, and Gambit could be setting a trap.
Bjergsen walks straight into it. Is he going to get slowed down? You can see Nick Nup getting one more shot in there. Diamond will pop that Guardian Angels down. Now he's going to come back out of it. Void will go straight in, locks him up, and Bjergsen is going to get dropped instantly. Alex picks up the kill. Maluna trying to get in that back line, but he hasn't got the damage to get in towards it. Diamond with a drive-by. Alex picks up that kill. Darian continues to chase on there. Flashes in, gets the slow across the entire NIP. He's going to launch himself in. The rest of, you see Diamond Prox, he's trying to head around the side. Darian should be able to jump on towards Mima. Mima elastic slingshots away from the dark path, but Alex comes in. The passive is popped, and that will be another kill. It's a 3 for 1 for Gambit.
And the death timers are so long right now for NIP, but Gambit does not have minions. They're trying to push on regardless.
They may well be able to just drive through. And there is a stat that Gambit, once they get on towards that inhibitor, they generally finish the game within 1 minute. I kid you not, in the summer split. Once they get that one inhibitor down, they smell blood. They will come rushing for those Nexus stones. 25 seconds still on Bjergsen. He's going to be the only one they fear right now. The Gambit Gaming may just drive through.
Gambit Gaming is not going to finish this one immediately because there is no minions and Freeze does too much damage to them. Nonetheless, that was an amazing set of events for Gambit as they pushed up in this game. Getting that catch onto Bjergsen is exactly what they were waiting for. We know that if NIP loses him, they just don't have the ability to power through the rest of it. There's so much damage that's been built up by Genji at this point that he just destroys NIP if he's not immediately assassinated.
Absolutely. So Diamond will be clearing out that bottom wave of minions. And let's have a look across. Does anyone go for the items? Guardian Angels, of course. Freeze didn't get taken down still, by the way. 825. He's been avoiding the fights effectively. Standing at that back. The GA of Darren is back up. The GA of Genji, of course, wasn't popped. The GA on Alex now is also in there. I believe he just picked that one up, or has he had that one a while? I can't even remember.
There's a lot of lives in this game.
It's a lot of lives. It's not quite the 10 lives that Gambit had in the one fight back in ECC Poland, but instead, it doesn't matter. Baron is up in 14 seconds. That is surely the next focus target.
Actually, it is, because Zach and Aatrox would be the extra 2, and we'd have 10 lives, because both...
Yeah. Thanks for that. But NOP, look at this. Yeah, you're not going to be able to sneaky here because Genji's just going to use that ulti. It's going to catch every push. Nobody's going to be safe. Bjergsen in this top lane. Darian's going to go aggressive on towards him, put the pressure down, and actually that forced the ultimate out of Bjergsen.
And that is the biggest thing that he needed to save for this next team fight. Gambit can now, I feel like, freely go in for inhibitor number 3 as both the other ones are already down and super minions are on their way.
On their way, he's already run back to base, trying to get himself topped back up here, but it's Gambit that are pushing on through. Baron spawned. Gambit do not care. They are sticking off at the backside at the moment. NIP, they're back in position. They will defend this one out, it seems. Gambit not going to pull the trigger.
And honestly, they needed to pull the trigger right then because the ultimate's already back. Brutality. It's only on a 36-second cooldown right now for Bjergsen. So unless they went on that one singular wave, they couldn't go.
They are pulling NIP out of the base. There's a giant creep wave going along that bottom lane. They're going to be on the Nexus to us now. So Gambit effectively slowing NIP down.
NIP has to go back, otherwise they will lose the Nexus to those super minions, which gives Gambit freedom to just take a Baron out of this exchange.
There's going to be a ping ward there. NIP have to make the decision. They realize they can't fight for it. They have to let Gambit have this Baron. So great tactical positioning from Gambit overall.
Yeah, Alex hitting the 500 minion kill mark as well. Just an absurdly long game here, 55 minutes in. The stall in this game from Gambit was most impressive here. And NIP's really regretting that dive at this point.
Yeah, they've made a few decisions where they got those 2 team fights, got the 2 Barons, but just couldn't close it off. That one attack, that one dive, after the Baron had run out, Alex sits there. I believe that was a basic attack on a minion for 700. It may well have been Genji, but it is going to be Mima diving in. Let's Bounce has been used, but simply put, he's getting melted before it even does anything. Maluna tries to go in, gets the Calicos down. Alex hits, Bjergsen goes in, he just gets dropped. Darian is just the man up front. Deficio is trying to get away. Diamondbox gets on towards him. Darian picks up the kill. That is going to be a 4 for 0. It's going to be Gambit Gaming to take game 1 in this best of 3 quarterfinals in the playoffs. Who will be facing the Lemon Dogs? So far, Gambit have 1 foot in the semi-final.
And that was a tough first game win. It took him 56 minutes, but Gambit just persevered through that one. It seemed like it had lost. That was not a good game for Diamond. He was playing from behind the entire time, but everyone stuck together. Maybe that boot camp's enough.
Maybe that boot camp has worked out. The confidence that would be gained on that one. Remember, this is NIP's first game in these massive crowd conditions. I cannot emphasize how many people pass through game. This has got 280,000 people came through here last year. This year, there's a day extra.
And there are so many people in this area. You can see as far as the eye can see as these guys are sitting on stage, just people. And most of them are watching League of Legends. There's not only the seating area, there's screens outside of here, and it's just, you can't even move when you're on the floor because everyone is sitting watching these guys play in the quarterfinals.
Looks like NIP going to have a discussion about this game and the actual stations. Of course, they have a back area where they can go into a little bit of a green room. It's funny, actually. I remember Gambit when they were in Moscow, and basically the crew obviously knew what they were talking about. But every other time, Gambit normally will just sit amongst all the other players and discuss their tactics because nobody understands them.
It's that free advantage that people get by speaking another language. The sneaky Russians, you never know what they have.
You never know what they have planned. Well, for sure, they managed to hang on and hold out in that game. Fantastic turnaround from Gambit. You know, they've had it all happen on themselves, of course. Everybody remembers Evil Geniuses way back in DreamHack in the group stages. Think back to the Taipei Assassins as well. I mean, the great games they had against Taipei Assassins. They destroyed TPA in that first game and almost turned it around in that second game to get into the finals in that first position. But TPA, well, they've gone into them finals, and this is all about making it to those Season 3 finals.
Yeah, and Gambit needs to make it through there just for themselves. It would be such a failure for them if they didn't even make it back to the World Championships. Because even from the start of Season 3, their end goal and the reason they're going through all this is so they can win the whole thing. Now they're kind of struggling to make it there because they had such a tough season. But that start of this game, that's a lot to fight through.
Well, let's send it over to Joe and Kobe at the analysis desk, of course, to break down that 50-minute epic.
Thanks a lot, Demon and Kobe. What a game. We've already seen one best of 3 today was awesome. The third game in particular, and it didn't stop here. I mean, 50-game epic that had so many different swings in it. So let's try and break this one down. Let's go back right to the very beginning, to the laning phase.
So even before the laning phase, if we look at the picks, they banned pretty much everything at Bjergsen. They want to take out all of his assassins, but he picked another assassin. He still went with Talon. He got the type of character that he wants, and he ended up killing Alex in lane 1 versus 1. So he had a good time, even on that Talon after they spent 3 bans against him. But still, Gambit were in control of the early game because of Darian. This was the Darian show for Gambit here. Jao was talking about how bad of a game Diamond was having. He was definitely behind, even on Evelyn, not putting out as much pressure as Maluna.
Yeah, and then we saw one thing that I just want to talk about here is that amazing 1v1 that actually almost turned into a 2v1 for Darian in the top lane as well. The use of the lifesteal that he had back then, and it was just an incredible show, and really almost got him a 2v1.
Yeah, so Darian, he got so strong in his lane with the other team ganking him. So he stayed even in CS, he took his own turret by himself, and then he drew 2 members up to his lane so that Gambit could then answer with the middle and bottom turrets. So effectively, Darian gets credit for all 3 outer turrets for Gambit in the early game, and that's what put them ahead. He got the global gold lead, and they were able to use that to exert their will for the first 15 minutes until NIP started using their area of effect to win team fights.
And that's where it got really dangerous for Gambit, right? Because at the start, they didn't quite, I think, know how to get away from that. And the execution as well, you have to say, from Ninjas in Pyjamas was brilliant.
It seems like we're going to have a return of MF here, because in the last series, she had a really big part. Again, in this series, it was a very big part because it controls so much of the screen. It takes people a while to adjust to that.
Well, let's have a look at our first replay then. And this is from Down by the Dragon. Again, this is a display of NIP's AoE, well, power.
Exactly. And this is also, again, the Darien show. This is after, you know, they've gotten those outer turrets, so they have the gold lead, but Darien here is the one who stops the MF, and that's the reason why Gambit are going to come out ahead in this fight. They just weren't able to repeat that for a while later. So let's roll through this dragon fight here. NIP are the ones who actually called for this, and they started it up, going for the dragon. They go for the initiate with the flash. Okay, pause it here. This is sort of the area control that we're talking about. These circles that are flowing down here from NIP do a good job of splitting up Gambit, but since Genja and Alex are far away from each other and in the back line, they're relatively safe. It's gonna make Bjergsen go all in on Alex, who has a Zhonya's Hourglass. So that's how their back line's gonna stay safe. Now we have to keep watching Darien here, as he's the one that deals with MF. Roll the rest of the clip here. Darien, pause it again. That dark flight that he just pulled off instantly canceled Freeze's ulti. You can look now, the ultimate is on cooldown from MF. Not one single wave of bullets came out from that bullet time. His dark flight was already casting right there. So he interrupted a huge part of NFP's damage. Now let's roll through the rest of the clip, and we can see Bjergsen sort of gets countered by that Zhonya's Hourglass from Alex. Ends up going down anyway, but it cost NIP everything. They all have to dive in, finish off Alex, and then Darien has enough damage and AoE from his Hydra rush that he's able to clean up that team fight.
And, you know, it got a little bit better for NIP at times. We saw them pushing onto the base constantly. We saw them with the Baron. It was a bit of a strange decision down there that they went with, which was, okay, we've got Baron off. We're sitting outside of their inhibitor. And as soon as Baron buff timed out, they went for it. It was really weird.
Very mistimed dive right there. Leading up to that, they had won 2 team fights in a row and got 2 Barons in a row because of their great use of those area of effect ultimates. But you're right, the timing on that dive was just after Baron wore off and just before the inhibitor came back up, which would have been them fighting without tower damage. So that was just, it just goes to show that you need to keep track of all the timers in the game. Inhibitors are 5 minutes. If they had known that it was about to come up, they wouldn't have gone for that dive, and they would have been mid lane for the safe fight.
Well, let's have a look at another replay here from that mid lane, incidentally. And this is, again, proof that NIP, they wanted to start the fights, they wanted to get in there, but it was so well handled by Gambit.
Second time NIP engage, and this is when Gambit are behind. So NIP are in the right here, trying to engage. But it does turn against them because of a beautiful pink ward from Voidal that catches Bjergsen and basically stops his entire game. So there's 2 areas to pay attention to in this, is the left and the right screen. Let's roll the clip through and we'll see how Darien and Alex on the right are able to get away, pause it here, from NIP's initiation. We had Bjergsen use his silence on Darien. So it wasn't available to silence Alex. Alex is able to get off a great shockwave to answer this Cataclysm bullet time combo that we're looking at. And it's effectively able to delay the team and allow Darien to come back in to put on his damage. All right, roll the rest of the clip. Darien's gonna come back in here. The shockwave gets 3 people. And remember, since Darien has Hydra, he's getting AoE. That pink ward sees Bjergsen dive in to try and finish them off. It was a very good job by Voidal dropping that down. Bjergsen is the core of this NIP team, and he relies on that stealth to be able to pull off his assassinations. If they're able to counter that, then they counter Bjergsen, they counter NIP. Able to clean this one up, and they turn that into a 2-man Baron.
Yeah, a 2-man Baron coming in, and I want to ask you a question about that and about Darien, because we've mentioned his name so often here. Obviously, it's hard to take him down anyway because of how he works, because of the Bullet Well passive that's going to bring him back to life. How do you counter him when he's effectively got that twice with a Guardian Angel as well?
That's kind of a Gambit special right there. Too many revives. He had 2 lives, so you have to sort of balance if you want to leave him alone and let him auto-attack, which is the best thing for Aatrox, especially since he already built a Hydra. You actually should probably just lock him down with CC, and you have to just go through the lives. When he's reviving, he's not doing damage at least.
Well, we'll have to see how that one's all turned around. 1-0, a long, drawn-out game. Obviously, it's a best-of-3, though, so Ninjas in Pyjamas, we'll see if they can get off to a decent start in this next one and get back into it. But for now, we're going to take a short break. But, of course, when we return, it's game number 2 between Gambit and Ninjas in Pyjamas. Alex Itch and crew are just one win away from the showdown with 11 Dogs on Saturday's semi-finals. So stick around. European LCS regional playoffs. We'll be right back.